night around 10:30 p.m. Atlanta police respond to a call about a man blocking traffic at this Wendy's drive-thru.
Oh, what's up, my man?
Officer Devin Brosnan is the first on the scene and approaches the vehicle.
Hey.
The driver is 27-year-old Rayshard Brooks.
What's up, man? You used to have a long day or something? What's up? All right, yeah, you're blocking, people calling said you were blocking me, all right?
What began as a calm interaction eventually escalated. Brooks wrestling the officers to the ground as they try to handcuff him.
Stop!
Reaching for one of their stun guns, at one point aiming and firing. One of the officers returning 3 gunshots. 2 would claim Brooks's life. Now these videos are at the center of the latest gut-wrenching national debate over when police should be allowed to use deadly force. This incident coming amidst protests over the death of George Floyd.
Multiple tear gas grenades are out in front of the liquor store.
Tearing yet another American city apart.
It didn't have to end that way. It pissed me off. It makes me sad, and I'm frustrated.
All of this as another family mourns the loss of a loved one.
I didn't know that I was gonna wake up to my husband never coming home.
I have a car. I think he's intoxicated. He's in the middle of my drive-thru. I tried to wake him up, but he's parked dead in the middle of the drive-thru, so I don't know what's wrong with him.
Minutes after Officer Brosnan arrives, Brooks pulls over into a parking spot.
What, you say one drink. What kind of drink was it?
We just wanted a little margarita.
DUI certified officers requested. Garrett Rolfe arrives just shy of 11 p.m.
Hey, I'm Officer Rolfe of the Atlanta Police Department. How you doing?
I'm doing just fine.
All right, so tell me, I wasn't here, so can you tell me what happened before we got here?
Nothing happened. I just got here and was getting something to eat.
You just turn around, face away from me real quick.
Brooks tells the officers he has no weapons. He's then put through a field sobriety test and a breathalyzer.
All right, just take a deep breath in.
.108, just above the legal limit.
Blah, 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 stop. You had about 1.5 drinks, but you don't remember what kind of drinks they were?
No, sir.
All right.
I really don't understand.
All right, I think you've had too much to drink to be driving. Put your hands behind your back for me.
At 11:23 p.m., the encounter takes a turn when the officers attempt to take Brooks into custody.
Mr. Brooks' reaction when the cuffs came out is actually not all that rare. There is a serious fear of not only interacting with the police, but also getting caught in the criminal justice system. We have seen people dying in police custody, losing their entire lives in the criminal justice system. There are some real fears, and I think that's what we saw from Mr. Brooks in that interaction.
Mr. Brooks is already registering his anxiety about being arrested.
Kalfani Toure is an assistant professor of criminal justice at Quinnipiac University and a former law enforcement officer in Georgia.
What's an officer supposed to think in this moment? He's resisting arrest, he's fighting, he's about to take his taser. What's an officer to think?
Sure, you have a non-compliant suspect. You have 2 officers there, and to be quite honest, this guy is resisting. He's not attacking the officers. He's trying to get away from the officers.
Stop!
At one point in the midst of the struggle, Brooks reaches and grabs Officer Brosnan's stun gun.
The wrestling between Mr. Brooks and the 2 officers and the subsequent grabbing of the stun gun definitely changes the calculus. This is an individual who went from being unarmed to being armed.
Brooks starts to run, Officer Rolfe chasing after him. This is when it turns fatal.
The reaction of the officer is absolutely ludicrous. He understands, based on his training, what that stun gun could do to him. Now, it's one thing for him to say, hey, in the heat of the moment, I pulled out my gun and I just didn't know what's going on. But if you look at the video, he points the stun gun. He says, no, pulls out his gun and instead uses deadly force. You cannot, you or I, or even officers, meet ordinary force or non-lethal force with deadly force. That's illegal.
I would have kept pace with him so that I could radio in to my other responding officers our location. Because certainly with more officers, we could have even thought about something that was less lethal, maybe hitting him with a beanbag to incapacitate him so we could resecure the taser.
Brooks died later at the hospital. The Fulton County medical examiner ruling it a homicide, citing Mr. Brooks had 2 gunshot wounds of his back that created organ injuries and blood loss.
So the coroner or the medical examiner's determination of homicide as a manner of death, with there being 2 gunshots to the back, helps in the sense of prosecuting against the officers because it eliminates that argument that they were in fear of their life. It's very hard to say you're fearful of someone if they're running away from you.
The next day, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation declared it was looking into the officer-involved shooting. Saturday afternoon at a press conference, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms announced Police Chief Erica Shields' resignation and called for reform.
While we have a police force full of men and women who work alongside our communities with honor, respect, and dignity, there has been a disconnect with what our expectations are and should be as it relates to interactions with our officers and the communities in which they are entrusted to protect.
Protesters soon flooded the streets. Overnight, the Wendy's where Brooks was shot and killed set ablaze. But emotions were already raw in Atlanta. This video coming out just weeks after the killing of Ahmaud Arbery that took place 4 hours south in Brunswick, Georgia. This time, the shooting hitting closer to home. By early Sunday morning, a spokesperson for the Atlanta police announced the officer who fired the fatal shots, Garrett Rolfe, had been terminated. Officer Devin Brosman was later placed on administrative duty. And the police union telling ABC News Officer Rolfe was terminated without due process and without an investigation. They didn't follow due process. But for Brooks's wife, Tomika Miller, it's not enough.
All of them should be terminated, arrested. I mean, that was your partner. You have to suffer the same consequences he suffered. You guys were there together.
And she and Brooks shared 3 children together, Blessing, Memory, and Dream.
He was a great father, a great husband. He was a beautiful spirit. He was strong. He was a fighter. Like, he loved his family.
He was also a stepfather to her son, Makai.
Now I feel like I'm a statistic. Like I'm stuck being a single black parent. They took something from me. And now I'm by myself taking care of 4 children. I'm being forced to do it by myself. This was not a choice. They forced this on me by taking my husband away. No justice could ever get that back. This is another black family being broken.
Justice in this case is yet to be decided. And once again tonight, America is left to struggle with both heartache and history. And the same familiar question: why did it have to end this way?
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.